You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and this is my conversation with a bloke called Andrew Neufeld. He's the frontman for a band called Comeback Kid, and the reason for the conversation was to promote Comeback Kid's then new in-market album called Outsider. Since the release of that album, they announced a tour across Australia, which occurs in May of 2018, with Silverstein. So it's an interesting conversation. Let's get to it. Here we go. Andrew, thanks so much for joining me. Comeback Kid do have a new album called Outsider, and I believe it's your sixth full-length and your first on Nuclear Blast. Now,
true.
As I mentioned before the podcast episode got underway proper, it is an album steeped in the finest metallic hardcore traditions as far as I'm concerned, but how would you describe the album?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we kind of went... sorry, I can't fucking talk right now. We kind of made a little bit of a change since our last record. Yeah, I know you just said that, you know, this is the first time you've heard us, but, you know, we started out as a pretty melodic hardcore band, straight out the gates, always very, you know, very true to some traditional hardcore roots. But we've always had some punk rock leanings. Our last record, Die Knowing, was a lot more of a metallic hardcore kind of sound, very 90s influenced. And what we did on that one, we did have some more melodic stuff, but we kind of ended up pushing some of that stuff to the back of that record. Whereas with Outsider, the new record, there was a few more cooks in the kitchen as far as songwriting and you know, performance-wise. And it was just a little bit more of a collaborative effort. And we I think we took a few more chances songwriting, and we really kind of mixed up, you know, some of the melodic stuff with the really, really heavy stuff on the record, but still really, really being conscious about who Comeback Kid is and the sound that we've created, because we still want to stay pretty true to that. And, you know, we just really focused on making some themes more obvious on this record and just, you know, trying to write the best record we could. So, yeah.
So you mentioned themes there. There is a theme across the album then?
I think just more so, not like as far as like an album theme in a like topic, but just as far as the songwriting in the song structures, you know, making the choruses really, really obvious and just, you know, making certain features really, really stick out. Whereas, you know, sometimes in the past, you know, we'd have just one really cool part on a song or something, but you know, it would just kind of be before the breakdown or something. But, you know, we're just really trying to own in on our songwriting and you know, really, really make something that's gonna you know, be catchy and be connecting with the audience in a live setting.
So, mate, you've been in the band since the very beginning, first as the rhythm guitarist, I understand, and then you became the band's vocalist when former vocalist Scott Wade left in 2006. Were you always a singer, or was it one of those things where you were thrust into the limelight out of necessity?
Yeah, I was a singer before Comeback Kid. Actually, Comeback Kid kind of got a little bit of a jump start early on, back when we started touring in 2003, because the other founding member of Comeback Kid and I, Jeremy, had another older band called Figure Four, and that was that was the first band that we kind of got touring, you know, in Canada and the U.S. and in Europe. And through booking tours with them and stuff, it kind of gave Comeback Kid a bit of a spring shot, you know, it was I could use all those contacts from my previous band to kind of get Comeback Kid going, so it was a little easier the second time around.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. And look, I do need to ask this question since we're having a chat. You were signed, or the band was signed to Victory Records for a number of years, and the label founder in the last 12 months has come under very heavy criticism for the way that he managed the label through the years that I think in particular you were signed as a band to Victory. What was your experience with Tony and the label?
He's a pretty interesting character, but you know, I think the thing about Victory was there's been a lot of people over the years that have come and gone, and some people that are still there that have really, really supported our band and looked after our band and given us help anytime, and you know, actually genuinely believed in our band. You know, especially like the A&R who originally signed us and is still there. He's always been a big, huge supporter and super genuine. No matter what is going on with Tony, there's been a lot of love at Victory for the band, and they've definitely helped us out a lot. Cool. So, yeah.
All right. Do you know if Tony is still at the label, or I can't find anything online? That's the only reason I asked someone who might know.
I would assume so. I mean, they made an offer for us for this last record, and he was right in there. So he was pretty bummed out. He was pretty pissed off when we didn't sign with him. So
Okay, fair enough. Okay, inspirations. Who are the band's inspirations and influences?
I mean, we grew up on like I said, we grew up on some traditional hardcore bands that we look up to would be, Sick of It All and Madball,
Yeah,
Gnostic
definitely
Front,
hearing that,
Cro-Mags. But also, we kind of grew up on that skate punk stuff. We're from the same hometown as a band called Propagandy.
Yeah, great band. Yeah, they've toured Australia a lot, yeah.
They kind of they got some of us into like punk rock early on, being from their hometown, and they're still doing the band. We were actually in the rehearsal space writing our record, and they were in the room next to us writing their record, and they're putting out some singles currently right now too. So it's pretty cool to see those guys doing their thing, and just bands like that, and No Effects, and even and then later on, a lot of the modern stuff still influenced us as well. Like bands like No Warning, and it's cool to see Trapped Under Ice doing shit again, and
Yes, yep.
and then but a lot of us, like a lot of the songwriting, even for me, like I'll take inspiration from a song that would be like, I'll be like, oh, here's the Oasis song, you know what I mean, and it'll never end up sounding like Oasis, but my initial riff will have like a riff that's kind of like that, you know what I mean,
Yep.
or I've ripped off everything from Exodus to Tegan and Sarah. So it's like
Tegan and Sarah, there you go. They're Canadian, aren't they? Yeah. I've seen them. I haven't seen them in Australia, but randomly I've got this thing with the band, or not recently, but over the years I've bumped into them 2 or 3 times in hotels throughout Australia. Don't know what that's about, but yeah, I've just seen them sort of walk past me, and it's like, I know them because they used to get a lot of radio play on a station in Australia, our so-called independent or youth station called Triple J. So you knew who they were if you followed what Triple J were doing. So yeah, that was interesting. But mate, let's talk about the age-old punk versus metal tribal division. And in my view, that's more or less a thing of the past in 2017, or is it? So what's your experience as a metallically enshrined punk band over the years? Are there any issues at shows between the two tribes?
I mean, hardcore is kind of right. Isn't pretty much hardcore the kind of marriage between punk and metal? Really, I feel like we're a hardcore band, but essentially we're just a punk metal band. I think we take some of the best from both worlds. But in the grand scheme, I don't know. If you're gonna have to put a count to it, I think maybe I don't know if this is in my life, but metal's one, man. Like you can't compete with the sheer power of metal in festivals.
No, I agree.
And all that throughout the rest of the world. It is one of the biggest styles of music in the world, and we see that with our own eyes when we're going to these festivals in Europe. Seeing like bands play for so many people, and there's a few punk bands that can do it, and then there's the ones that have gone the more mainstream approach. But it's cool to see No Effects or the Descendants being able to fill up 2,000 people in a venue or something. But metal's just this next level, dude. It's like the long hairs don't care, man.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Yeah, look, I've never asked the question in almost 200 interviews with musicians, and a small segment of which, a small portion of which have a foot in both the metal and punk camp. I've never asked it, but I thought you'd be a good reference point there, because I'm certainly hearing, or a good person to ask the question of actually, because I'm certainly hearing punk influences in the music. So I thought occasionally you might get that, that hardcore exploited fan that still thinks that, or they dress up like it's 1982.
Yeah. No, for sure. I like that though. I like it. I like the fucking go all in,
Yeah, agreed. I like when I see it too. It means someone's living the life the way that they want to lead it, usually in my experience, because music fans and music creators, we're a pretty specific bunch, aren't we? In that music is our
definitely.
life. There's not a lot else. I mean, there are other things, of course, go fishing or dirt biking or whatever it might be, but music is a central theme that runs through our life like a narrative.
Definitely. And if you can wear that on your sleeve or in your fashion, whatever, more power to you, I think.
Yep. So, mate, you toured Europe with Ewingsdale's finest, Parkway Drive. What are your memories of the tour?
I guess we've toured with them a couple times now. Not in a while, though. I mean, I remember there's a tour that goes on now that, it's called Never Say Die in Europe, and it's a huge kind of tour that our booking agent puts on, and we actually did the very first one, and Parkway Drive played under us, and actually we ended up taking Parkway Drive when they first came to America. There was like a 5-band bill that we were headlining, and we had Parkway Drive as the first band, paying them out of our pockets on that tour. Turned out that our old bass player married their drummer's sister, so that's like a weird connection that we have with them. Yep. So yeah, it's incredible to see them blow up into the band that they've become. I mean, I would have never dreamed that, but definitely extremely proud of those guys.
Yeah, we forget they're Australian a lot of the time, such as their touring schedule overseas and the like. And they only
the rest of the world doesn't forget that, though. It's pretty obvious to us, man.
Sorry, I've got a virus.
When you got the palm trees and like board shorts on stage, you're like, all right, I know where this band's from.
Yeah, they're from a part of the world that I'm near. Actually, I'm in the state of Queensland, and they're in far northern New South Wales, Ewingsdale or Byron Bay.
Yeah, no, I know. I know Byron Bay for sure.
Oh, there you go, mate. Yeah, you know all about it then. So that's a pretty interesting part of the world at the best of times, actually, down there. So it gets a lot of pretty interesting people.
Yeah, Beach Hotel. Maybe go check out some bands there or something.
Yeah, you know all about it.
Yeah.
So on that note, mate, what's your relationship been with Australia and Australian fans over the years?
We have a pretty long standing history in Australia. I think. Our first time there was in 2005, and I can't even count how many times I've been there. I've had not to go into too much detail, but I've had like relationships in Australia and spent a lot of time there on and off tour, and we've toured there on every record cycle. And maybe even more than once, and I've been there with other projects as well. So I'm pretty intertwined with the country, and have a great time there. I guess the biggest challenge is that just getting back there. It's just so far and expensive, so it has to just make sense. You know what I mean? Yeah,
totally. Mate, I better wrap things up. I've come to the end of my 15 minutes, but I do want to ask you 3 questions that I do ask all of my interview subjects. So
no problem.
Humor me here if you can and play along. So the first question is, if you could just describe yourself in 3 words. What words would you choose to use?
Ambitious, embarrassing, fuck. I'm doing myself a solid giving myself ambitious here.
It's a good one, actually. I don't think I've had that one.
I'll try to get another vowel in there. Ambitious, embarrassing, and interesting.
I was just saying. I was about to say interesting.
No. I would say interested, but I would say more so interesting.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Actually, on the same page.
When we were writing our record, the word interesting didn't always mean a good thing. It was, like when someone would write something you weren't sure about, you're like, that's interesting,
That's the passive-aggressive way of saying, no, don't like that, All right. So the next question I've got for you is, if you could go back to when you're 18 and give yourself some advice, what do you think you'd say?
Jesus isn't real.
Fair enough. All right. Final question. Here we go. The big one. This one's a bit stock standard, but still I'm always interested to hear the responses to this one. If you could invite 5 guests, living or dead, from any time in history to a dinner, who would you invite?
5 guests from history?
Yeah, from any time in history, so living or dead. So you can invite Justin Trudeau or whoever, Madonna, whoever. Or Jesus.
Oh, damn. Madonna?
Oh, anybody. I was just making the point that you could invite anybody you wanted. Yeah, just first person that came to mind.
Oh, like living or dead.
That's it, spot on, yeah.
Shit, man, that's loaded. Shit. Okay, well, I want to hang out with James Brown.
Nice.
Kurt Cobain. I want to hang out with... I'm scared to kind of get some guys that are pre-1900 because they're probably pretty racist. So
yes, well, in this climate anyway, you put stuff like that out there, people come after you, so you've got to be careful. I understand what you're saying. You can do things quite innocently. Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with the last 100 years. Let's go James Brown, Kurt Cobain, Lemmy.
Nice.
Shit.
That's 3.
Yeah. I'm still going here. You put me on the spot here. My brain doesn't work super fast sometimes. Who else do I want? Dude, just my brain right now. I can't.
3 will do.
I can't get it. I can't. Yeah.
3 will do.
Let's stick with that. I'm sorry.
No, that's all good, mate. I better let you head off to the next interview.
I'm a music geek, so I'm just gonna want to hang out with some more rockers, and you know what I mean.
I would too, mate. I'd have Ozzy Osbourne and Rob Halford or someone like that come along as well to complement the company you've already chosen there. So.
Oh yeah, because I keep on forgetting you can choose the living as well, So.
Yep. Yeah, totally.
Cool,
or David
man.
Bowie there, but mate, look again. I want to congratulate you on the album. For somebody like myself to get into an album when I don't know how many promos I get a week, but a bloody lot. So I want to congratulate you on the quality of the album. When do you think you'll be down in Australia for a tour?
First few months of 2018, I think.
All right, I'll be in the audience then when you guys tour. So, mate, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and that was my conversation with Andrew Neufeld from the band Comeback Kid for the Scars and Guitars podcast. Thanks so much for listening.